Today we're looking at Lesson 45 from A Course in Miracles.
Yeah, this one really asks us to think differently about our thoughts. Not the everyday ones, but something way deeper.
The lesson starts off strong.
It does.
I think it would be helpful to just hear it straight from the text.
Sure. God is the mind with which I think.
Whoa! That's not how we usually think about our minds, is it?
No, not really. It's definitely a shift in perspective.
So the lesson goes on to say,
Today's idea holds the key to what your real thoughts are. They are nothing that you think, just as nothing that you think you see is related to vision in any way. There is no relationship between what is real and what you think is real. Nothing that you think represents your thoughts resembles your real thoughts in any respect. Nothing that you think you see bears any resemblance to what vision will show you.
okay, so if what I think isn't actually what I'm thinking, then where are these real thoughts, these true thoughts? What makes them so important?
Well, that's where the idea of the mind of God comes in. It's saying our minds aren't separate, but they're part of this one big universal mind.
So we're all connected on this deeper level of thought. That's a pretty big concept.
It is. Think of it like a shared memory with a close friend. You each remember it your own way, but the core of it you both share. This is kind of like that. Our minds are all connected to this source, this mind of God.
Okay, I see. So how does that connect to our real thoughts then? What does the lesson say about them?
It says, you think with the mind of God, therefore you share your thoughts with him as he shares his with you. They are the same thoughts because they are thought by the same mind. To share is to make alike, or to make one. Nor do the thoughts you think with the mind of God leave your mind, because thoughts do not leave their source.
So these real thoughts, they aren't those fleeting thoughts, those kind of jumbled ones we have every day.
Right, exactly. They're described as eternal and unchanging, part of creation itself,
Wow. So they're like, like the blueprint of a building, the foundation.
That's a great way to put it.
The lesson then says,
Therefore, your thoughts are in the mind of God, as you are. They are in your mind as well, where he is. As you are part of his mind, so are your thoughts part of his thoughts. Where, then, are your real thoughts? Today, we will attempt to reach them. We will have to look for them in your mind, because that is where they are. They must still be there, because it cannot have left. What is thought by the mind of God is eternal, being part of creation.
so it seems we have to look inward, quiet the noise to get to these deeper thoughts.
Exactly. It's like they're waiting to be
But
uncovered.
how do we actually do that? How do we quiet all the chatter and find these eternal thoughts?
A Course in Miracles gives us a practical way. 3 5-minute practice periods.
What are those like?
The lesson says, our 3 5-minute practice periods for today will take the same general form that we used in applying yesterday's idea. We will attempt to leave the unreal and seek for the real. We will deny the world in favor of truth. We will not let the thoughts of the world hold us back, and we will not let the beliefs of the world tell us that what God would have us do is impossible.
This denying the world in favor of truth, is that like choosing to focus on something deeper, like a shift?
Yeah, like when you're at work and things are stressful, right? You could get overwhelmed, or you could step back and focus on the positive.
Right, okay. What about like in relationships? How would that work?
Well, say you have a disagreement with someone. Instead of getting defensive, you choose to see their side, be more compassionate.
So changing how you see things. Interesting.
Right. And then this part is really encouraging.
Oh, what does it say?
It says, instead, we will try to recognize that only what God would have us do is possible. We will also try to understand that only what God would have us do is what we want to do. And we will also try to remember that we cannot fail in doing what he would have us do. There is every reason to feel confident that you will succeed today. It is the will of God.
It's like it's saying that if we connect to this higher purpose, we'll find the strength to do what we need to do.
Exactly. And it won't feel like a struggle because it'll be in alignment with our true nature.
But how do we actually practice this? What are the steps?
The lesson says, begin the exercises for today by repeating the idea to yourself, closing your eyes as you do so. Spend a fairly short period in thinking a few relevant thoughts of your own, keeping the idea in mind as you do so. After you have added some 4 or 5 thoughts of your own, repeat the idea again and tell yourself gently, my real thoughts are in my mind. I would like to find them. Then try to go past all the unreal thoughts which cover the truth in your mind and reach to the eternal.
It's not like we have to come up with the answers ourselves. It's more about letting go and opening ourselves up.
Yeah, being open to something bigger than us.
The lesson says,
Under all the senseless thoughts and mad ideas with which you have cluttered up your mind are the thoughts which you thought with God in the beginning. They are there in your mind now, completely unchanged. They will always be in your mind exactly as they always were. Everything which you have thought since then will change, but the foundation on which they rest is wholly changeless. It is this foundation toward which the exercises for today are directed. Here is your mind joined with the mind of God. Here are your thoughts, one with His.
It's beautiful the way it describes our minds being rooted in this unchanging foundation.
It is. It gives a sense of hope, like
Yeah.
no matter what, there's this deeper truth within us.
Then it goes on to talk about how important it is to approach this with reverence.
It does.
What does it say?
For this kind of practice period, only one thing is necessary. Approach it as you would an altar dedicated in heaven itself to God the Father and God the Son. For such is the place you are trying to reach. You will probably be unable as yet to realize how high you are trying to go. Yet even with the little understanding you have already gained, you should be able to remind yourself that this is no idle game, but an exercise in holiness and an attempt to reach the kingdom of heaven.
So it's not just a mental exercise, it's more spiritual.
It's about recognizing that our minds are sacred, capable of connecting to something much greater than ourselves.
And it continues.
In using the shorter form of applying today's idea, try to remember how important it is to you to understand the holiness of the mind that thinks with God. Take a minute or two, as you repeat the idea throughout the day, to appreciate your mind's holiness. Stand aside, however briefly, from all thoughts that are unworthy of Him whose host you are, and thank Him for the thoughts He is thinking with you.
It's about bringing this awareness into our daily lives.
Yeah, remembering who we are, even amidst the busyness of life.
So, Lesson 45 challenges us to see our thoughts in a completely new way. We have this deeper level of thinking beyond our normal perception.
Right, and it gives us a practical way to tap into that wisdom.
It's almost like it's saying we already have everything we need to be at peace. We just have to remember how to access it.
Exactly. It's not about seeking something outside ourselves.
Wow. So much to think about. Let's take a pause here, and when we come back, we'll continue exploring this lesson.
So we've been talking about these real thoughts that are kind of hidden beneath our everyday thinking, the ones that are eternal and all.
Yeah, it's a really interesting idea, like having this source of wisdom within us.
And the Course says that by tapping into these thoughts, we can get a clarity that goes beyond what we normally understand.
But how do we know when we're actually reaching those thoughts? How do we know we're not just, making things up?
Well, Course emphasizes that we got to approach this with humility, with reverence,
So not trying to force it, not trying to come up with the right answer.
Yeah, exactly. It's more about surrendering and letting those thoughts come naturally.
There's an analogy in the lesson that talks about this.
Oh, right. It says, for this kind of practice period, only one thing is necessary. Approach it as you would an altar dedicated in heaven itself to God the Father and God the Son. For such is the place you are trying to reach. You will probably be unable as yet to realize how high you are trying to go. Yet even with the little understanding you have already gained, you should be able to remind yourself that this is no idle game, but an exercise in holiness and an attempt to reach the kingdom of heaven.
So it's about creating a sacred space within ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Recognizing the holiness of our minds.
It reminds me of setting an intention before meditating. Approaching it with respect and a sense of wonder.
That's a good comparison. The Course goes on to say, in using the shorter form of applying today's idea, try to remember how important it is to you to understand the holiness of the mind that thinks with God. Take a minute or two as you repeat the idea throughout the day to appreciate your mind's holiness. Stand aside, however briefly, from all thoughts that are unworthy of Him whose host you are, and thank Him for the thoughts He is thinking with you.
So bringing that awareness into our everyday lives, not just during those 5-minute practices.
Right. It's about remembering that connection, even when we're busy, making choices that reflect that awareness.
So choosing thoughts that align with this higher purpose.
Yes. And realizing that our minds aren't just our own. We're part of something much bigger.
Lesson 45 is really making us rethink how we see our thoughts. It's saying we have this deeper level of thinking that we can access.
And it gives us a way to actually tap into that wisdom.
It's like we already have all we need to be at peace, to be truly happy. We just need to remember how to find it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not something we have to search for outside of ourselves.
It's all within. Okay, let's shift gears a bit. How do you see this playing out in your own life? I mean, the lesson says these real thoughts are the foundation of our being. What does that look like for you?
Well, for me, it means that Even when things are crazy, even when I feel uncertain, there's this peace, this underlying order that I can find if I just quiet my mind. It affects how I make decisions, how I treat others, even my sense of purpose.
Can you give an example? How does that awareness actually show up in your day-to-day life?
Sure. Just recently, I had this really tough situation at work, some big decisions, a lot of pressure. It would have been easy to get caught up in the worry, the fear, but I took some time to connect with, that inner guidance. I meditated, I prayed, reminded myself that I'm connected to this mind of God and that I can trust that wisdom. And you know what? As I quieted my mind, this feeling of calm came over me. I could see things more clearly and I could make the decisions from a place of confidence, not fear.
It sounds like you shifted your focus from the problem to that inner knowing.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It's about remembering that we're not alone in our struggles. We have this strength, this guidance that's always there.
The Course says to deny the world in favor of truth. What does that mean for you in your personal relationships?
In my relationships, denying the world means choosing love over judgment. It means seeing the good in people, even when they're being difficult, It means coming at conflicts with compassion instead of anger or defensiveness.
So remembering that we're all connected, acting from that place of connection.
Exactly. Trusting that love is the answer, even when it's hard.
Have you had any experiences where that's made a difference in your personal life?
Oh, yeah. I had this disagreement with a close friend. I felt hurt, misunderstood. I wanted to just shut down, hold on to the anger. But I knew that wasn't going to help anything. So I thought about it, from a more spiritual perspective. I reminded myself that my friend is also a child of God, deserving of love, just like me. And I realized my own ego was getting in the way. I had to let go of being right. And when I approached my friend like that, we could actually talk. We listened to each other. And in the end, we were able to work it out, actually make our friendship stronger.
You moved from blame to understanding.
Yeah, and that changed everything. It let us connect again.
The Course emphasizes that only what God would have us do is possible. How can we actually live that out, in our everyday lives?
It's about aligning our actions with our purpose, like asking ourselves, is this loving? Is this for the greater good? When we make choices that way, things flow. We open ourselves up to new possibilities.
It's not about forcing things.
No, it's about trusting, letting things unfold, remembering we're not in this alone.
This lesson is really challenging us to see our thoughts differently. We have this connection to the mind of God, and we can access it.
And those real thoughts, they're already there, waiting for us to uncover them.
So as we continue to explore this, let's think about what it means to deny the world in favor of truth in our own experiences. How can we be more aware of that divine presence within us?
It's a journey, for sure, but it's one we can take together. Maybe we can all take some time to reflect on these ideas, see how they fit into our lives.
We've been exploring Lesson 45, thinking about aligning our thoughts with the mind of God and about, the holiness of our minds.
Yeah, it really pushes us to think outside the box, doesn't it? Like stepping into a whole new world.
It does, yeah. Like there's this whole part of our minds we haven't really considered before.
Maybe it's like, imagine a giant library. Every book you can think of, all human knowledge. And then there's this hidden room, a secret chamber with just one book. And that book, it holds all the answers, the ultimate wisdom. This lesson's kind of saying that room, it's inside each of us. And with these practices, we can start to unlock it.
The Course in Miracles suggests that we already have what we need for true peace, true joy.
It's not about getting something new. It's more like remembering something we've forgotten.
So as we wrap up this lesson, what's the most important thing for our listeners to take away?
I think it's this. Our minds, they're not separate from God. We think with the mind of God. And those real thoughts, they're eternal, part of creation. It's like an invitation to explore that connection, to remember who we truly are.
Thank you so much for taking us through this lesson. It's been a real journey. And a reminder that there's always more to learn, more to discover about ourselves.
My pleasure. It's been great exploring this with you.
I woke up to